Deadzone Rogue is a roguelite FPS set in deep space where you venture a ship to unravel what's going on, while fighting through waves of enemies and gearing up to tackle the challenges that lay ahead. Sadly, the full game isn't released, but they did release a demo, so these are just some thoughts on the game, but by all means, go test it yourself, go get a feel for what it has to offer. From the first moment you start playing, you're given a pistol, a knife, and a grenade as you wander from room to room fighting against cybernetic monsters that either rush you down or fire from a distance. This simplistic balance is then built on with a multitude of different options and actions. You can choose to go full John Wick and gun down each enemy with precise movement and precision, as you are the only thing left standing. Or you could find a barrel and launch it into a crowd and have an explosion wipe them out, while then throwing a grenade at anyone who remains. And these are just the first rooms. Later on you'll start getting gear and weapons that allow you to build yourself up for the run, focusing on movement, critical chance or attributes that help with your shield and health. With every enemy defeated, they'll drop health, scraps, these little yellow bolts, and tech, the purple triangles. Tech can be spent at stations to upgrade permanent stats, which go from drop rates, specific kinds of damages, or starting health and armor. There are plenty more, but once these are upgraded, they will constantly be in effect from that run onwards. Now, scrap is used to purchase weapons, which you can re-roll twice if you aren't happy with the options for no extra cost. These weapons range from rifles, SMGs, pistols, shotguns, snipers, and even a melee axe. All these weapons are infused with elemental properties that can cause a status effects and have a chance to cause a more impactful elemental damage to said enemies and those around them. And finally, they have perks for that run, which can just give you a raw elemental damage buff to pump up higher rates of destruction, or give you some survivability perks that keep you alive when things are getting overwhelming, or just give you an extra dash to make getting out of fire much swifter. These can also be re-rolled. I really enjoyed the fact that even after bottling a run, the upgrade made would carry over into the next run, making me more formidable than in the last. I found myself gravitating towards armor that gave me movement speed a lot, but would drop more for armor when health got low. Assault rifles are usually my thing, but those marksman rifles hit so hard, and paired with a burst pistol or hand cannon, just loved that. Thunder or fire element damage was usually how my runs turned out, but the Void Nice weapons are just as fun, with their own unique status effects. I mentioned earlier about the melee enemies that would rush you down and ranged enemies, but as you progress through the sections you'll come across upgraded versions of these and some new types of cyborgs. The first being a shield unit that hunkers behind its wall until it pulls it aside just to gun you down. It leaves a good opening for you to punish, but if you get greedy and you can't finish the kill, then it has a high damage output heading your way. I did run into an issue with this, where sometimes it would fire instantly when the shield moved. Next they have these small enemies which are like cybernetic spiders. They just scurry towards you and do physical damage. While they die rather quick, they are fast and scattered across the room. Another small enemy variant is the flying ones. One floats around keeping a constant healing stream on survivors, and the other goes up high to shoot down on you and keep your attention unfocused while clearing rooms. This enhances the gameplay as it splits your focus from ground to air while requiring you to keep in cover and out of range of enemies. Just realised this while editing, there is also a kind of ship enemy. It doesn't do a great deal of anything apart from being kind of just there to tack on extra damage, but yeah, it's also there. So technically there's only one boss at the end of the chapter, but you do get to encounter two mini bosses. One that's like a hulking sized death bot that can dash you down with a lunge attack with a room of small ranged units. It's not overly hard, as you can use the room's many structures to hide behind while shifting from pillar to pillar and gunning down everyone. The other mini boss is 3 Spider-Men. Human bodies fused with metal, it seems, with about 20 little spiders rushing you down once they see you. Also not too hard if you utilise your dodge and clear out the small spiders before dealing with the bigger ones. Now the actual big health bar named boss, Siphon. I enjoyed this fight. It cycles through phases while doing particular attacks and having an immunity phase where mobs are dropped in for you to deal with, before you can attack the boss again. It was fun. It required constant pressure to be thinking about what the best course of action was before committing. The boss is the only time there's a different song playing, which sounds like a negative but isn't, as for all the other rooms that you encounter through chapter 1 feel tied together, and then this boss is the finale to that. With this only being a demo, I couldn't say if they planned this or if this is the way that the full release will be. But the idea of chapters having its own sound and then finishing it off with a boss theme doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. The environments look nice, but I feel like this doesn't match the tone of the game at all. It feels lacking in character for the kind of setting it is. Rooms also feel empty, like you don't want to clutter it up, and some rooms do have objects in them, but I feel like the tone isn't really captured by this sense of isolation, and it more captures a lack of presence. Maybe some form of civilization propaganda, or explosive or corrosive damage to the floors or the walls. There are some monitors with news on them, and then there's sleeping quarters that have some posters, shelves and beds, but I feel these rooms are kind of just tacked on to make the space feel more realistic, but they don't have any real need for them. Now in the demo, I don't feel like this is the big deal that they need to focus on, because the main thing they should be sorting is the gameplay, and that's all good. But in the finished product, I think that these environments need to be touched up and given a more unique identity. Though with that said, I did think of the idea that these early areas might be this pristine because they're far away from the source of what's going on. This is really the only negative of the game, which is kind of great because it's something that can be worked on and updated over time. On their Steam page they disclosed that we use AI to pre-generate some assets. Some of this generated content is used as reference, and then modified by our in-house art team. Which I respect, as this shows that they aren't trying to cut corners with AI generated content, but more inspire direction that they can go with layouts and structure. So, first impressions. The pro list: combat is fun, guns feel balanced, building your run can go a multitude of different ways due to the weapons and skills. Dashing feels clean with a super short cooldown which allows for aggressive play, and the difficulty options. Cons though, the rooms feel bland. Hopefully this will change. Flying enemies' hitboxes feel off. Sometimes it feels like you have to aim above their head. Sometimes the shield enemies start spraying instantly. I think this is just a bug, and the healing bots heal so much. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be dialed up that much. But personally, I don't feel like that's a bad con list at all. This demo did exactly what it aimed to do. It caught my attention, piqued my interest, and delivered what it promised. I enjoyed it, and I welcome the full release whenever that might be, so I can continue on with this experience. And even if the story doesn't hold up, at least the shoot and loot roguelike elements will still keep me entertained. Although I'm pretty interested in seeing where it goes story-wise with that chapter's ending. Fingers crossed for Deadzone Rogue, as you uncover fragments of your past, as you piece together the truth behind your mission. Fight, die, revive, repeat. Thank you for sitting through this. I feel like Deadzone Rogue has a lot of promise, and I hope that the devs bring to life the vision that they have for it. If you've enjoyed, then leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you know any games like Deadzone Rogue that might be worth checking out. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely day and or evening, and I'll catch you next time.